great, excellent afternoon to all those who are watching us across the states in Nigeria. And they say the loss and the death of our citizens as a result of negligence. And of course, should I say that deliberate act of another citizens of tantamount to the killings of the entire populace is also what leads to the negligence from our government or from the people. Don't let me also point fingers at the government, but the more we condone negligence and of course in attitude in some sectors where it is unpardonable, then we become victims of such acts. I say welcome to another interesting episode of Real Talk with Kike, even though that the topic today is a bit of mixed feelings and all of that, but enough of that. Dami, how you doing today with the woman with the red hair? I'm liking the touch of red that you and I have today. Or maybe yours is burgundy, not
burgundy,
red.
Yes, yeah. Another deeper shade of red. I mean, it's a good day to be alive, to be sitting here today again. And by the way, you look good. You always have this great fashion sense.
I always look good. What do you mean?
I mean, you should be studied in school, like fashion entrepreneur. But anyway, it's good to see you again. Welcome back after a few days out of Nigeria, out of the hustling and bustling and waking up.
The number of people they think that I went for holiday. But actually,
you were working.
There are a lot of things that if you don't want people to know, they will not know. But let me just put that aside. I like to project what I want the social media to say.
Absolutely.
Anyways, guys, before we overwhelm you with our discussion and all of that, I think it's important for us to hear what history has for us today in terms of our This Day in History segment. Stay with us. I'll be right back.
On this day in 2014, a Nigerian child bride, 14-year-old Wasila Umaru, killed her 35-year-old husband after being forced to marry him. After the wedding, the groom, Sani Umaru, invited some friends to celebrate in Ungwa, Yonsuru village, which is close to the city of Kano. However, during the festivities, Wasila slipped some rat poison into the rice that was being served. Umaru was tried in adult rather than juvenile court and was charged with the murder, but was released from prison and death sentence. She was released for the efforts of countless dedicated Nigerian women, individuals, and groups.
All right, many thanks for staying with us. Dami, what's your take on this history segment?
Well, I think that more often than not, we'll keep talking about our children if we really want to live an enabling society for our future generation, because these children are the future. Now, what my mind casted back on was the Child Rights Act that we are still contemplating on, or we've still been talking about. I know that, of course, in Nigeria, the Child Rights Act introduced in 2003 had raised the minimum age of marriage for girls to 18 years, but the legislation has not been able to fully ratify this law by the states in the Muslim-dominated and the northern communities where child marriage is quite common. I know that out of 36 states, I think only 24 states had taken it into law but have not fully codified it. So it leaves me to say, who protects our children from these numerous vulnerabilities that they face? And in the case of the young lady, I really thank God that she got that assistance that was due to be given to her from the International Federation of Women Lawyers. I think a lot of people rose up to her case to say, you know what, this is not supposed to go this route. So I would just continue to implore our government or our politicians or the people in the corridors of power. I know that having a few women now making decisions in the Senate and, of course, different houses of assembly, they will be able to look into these laws and put our children in the place that they are supposed to be appropriately in terms of security of their lives and their safety in general. So I think that we should really look beyond this and do well for ourselves.
All right, well said. I think we should not overwhelm our viewers now with this on This Day in History segment, and of course we're running out of time. But I just want to say that, wonder shall never end with the evil in our people, and the fact that I feel that I'm excited, or should I say I'm happy, that the law took its course, and of course, the civil society and women rights group have their own way of advocating for justice, and all of that. I must say thanks to social media and all of that, because in today's world, I think that we are using the tool to actually hold a lot of people accountable, which is one of the things that I love about socials and all of that. So, but with all that you said, I just feel that things like this shouldn't be happening anymore. But on this note, I think it's time for us to get a quick message from our sponsors. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. Of course, the 7-story building which collapsed in the Banana Island area of Lagos State yesterday, exactly 3 p.m. According to research, eats Nigerians badly, and of course the news has overwhelmed a lot of people. Of course, the news agency as well, as always, social media inclusive, and the building, which was also under construction, collapsed yesterday evening, and the National Emergency Management Agency, in Lagos State, confirmed the incident in their own statement as well that was put out there. Also, an official of Lagos State Building Control Agency said a rescue operation started but could not give further detail as of today. As of now, even from a lot of journalists going to the property, and they were not given access. And of course, the Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Tayo Bangboshe Martins, also visited the site to assess the situation and flag off investigation and all of that. We ask members of the public, to remain calm and expect further information from the ministry, as we know now that, there's a lot of investigation going on, even though the media personnel or the media crew have not been given access as at this hour as I speak. But guys, on the live show today, I have we've been having real talk around the trending and of course the intervention, the role of the government, and the measures of against past defaulters and latest updates on the collapsed building. But before I delve further on the topic at hand, I think it's important for us to check the profile of our guest before we start engaging him. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, many thanks for staying with us. Of course, we have via virtual line Mr. Adesina Tiamiyu. It's a pleasure to have you again on Real Talk with Kike Show. And I must say many thanks for always honoring my invite. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fine. And how are you too?
I'm well, thank you. So let's just dive straight to the topic at hand. I'm glad to know I have an emergency consultant on the show today, because incidents like this, I believe, should make us wiser. Unfortunately, man-made disaster should make us even smarter, and I believe more productive as well. But what are the lessons you think that we are yet to learn? What are the, the things that we are doing wrongly? Who should we hold responsible with all that is happening at the moment?
Well, from my own view, I think we have refused to take responsibility on the part of government, on the part of individuals, and even on the part of professional groups. This is not the first time this is happening. It has happened quite a number of times in Lagos. What lessons have we learned from? The last major one that we had was in 2021. I don't know whether you have a report of that probe set up by the government then. Because if you set up a probe, it is to enable you understudy or understand what has gone wrong on an incident. And then you must avail the public the result of that, your investigation, so that it will guide what we do best next time. I don't know if you have it. On the part of the professional groups, look, you don't have to wait for government all of the time. Some of those who are involved in this thing are certified engineers, architects, and all of that. What are their professional groups doing about them? There are cases where you can withdraw people. I mean, if you report a lawyer to the NBA, sometimes they withdraw their certificate for unprofessional conduct. What are we doing? So government must be able to take responsibility. You cannot make laws and refuse to enforce it. No matter whose ox is God, let us go ahead and make a scapegoat of somebody. Come on, lives are equal. It doesn't matter whether you're a poor man or a big man. Unfortunately, the last one, the owner of the property died in that incident. So you ask yourself, what is the need for you when you want to cut corners to make money? Imagine if those properties coming down like birds are already inhabited by people. We will be talking of calamity of immeasurable proportion. And thank God, the current one we are talking about has not occasioned any death. That's a good news coming from there. But again, the idea of calling emergency workers to site when we could have prevented things, are we not even stretching people too much? Are we not even ashamed of this news all the time? I don't blame the government alone. Everybody involved must share in this blame, including the professional bodies to which some of these people belong. Even when you say people are poor, yes, you have a right to arrest or ensure that quacks are picked, so that government understand the fact that everybody must be held responsible for their action or inaction. So that's the way I see it. That's the lesson we are learning.
About taking responsibilities on the part of the government and of course the people and those who are directly involved in this structure. I also know that if we're looking at different causes of building collapse from of course people who know the onions, we can talk about probably faulty design, negligence, incompetence, faulty construction, foundation failures and all of that. But you also mentioned that the government is yet to make a full-time scapegoat of probably who has erred in this area. But I would like to ask, are there regulations and policies that guide buildings in Lagos, and is it followed to the latter? Or there are a lot of people that know how to boycott their way, and at the end of the day, we have such mishaps like this? What are the regulations and policies that probably guide buildings and materials importation and all the likes?
You see, and this is where I said people must take responsibility. There are laws in Lagos State that guides, erecting structures in Lagos State. If not, why will the Ministry of Physical Planning say the building has no approval? It means before you erect a structure, you must submit your document for approval, starting from your plans, from your, documentations, payment of so many dues, engineers to come and verify, material testing of of some of the material you'll be using. And there's also the building code, to which everybody subscribes. Professional bodies are part of this. Why are these things happening and nobody is talking about it? Yes, there are rules and there are laws. And principle about this is the permission that you get from the government to start construction. How many buildings in Lagos State today take that permission before construction starts? There are so many of them. A few weeks back, Lagos published hundreds of lists of distressed buildings in Lagos State. I hope that will be the harbinger for greater things to happen. They must pursue those lists and bring down any structure. Look, we cannot continue to pay lip service to all of these things. It continues to consume people's lives. Like Yorubas will say, whoever is involved in this, I mean, anybody who has lost a family in any of these incidents, I have had to use my bare hand to carry little children in Massey Street when the building came down some years back. It is not a pleasant experience at all. People cried on my head. People were ready to attack me. I understand the pains. So why will we continue to do what we are doing wrongly all of the time? So it is not about everybody blaming government, blaming government, blaming government. But government must be alive to its responsibilities. And that is ensuring. How can you say a building that is 7-story has no approval? Where was the ministry when it started from floor 1, floor 2 to floor 7? That's a gigantic structure. And I understand there are 4 of them within the same environment. So it couldn't have escaped people's eyes. Who are the engineers monitoring it? Who are the monitoring it? Where are the Lagos Building Control Agency, LABSTA? What are their reports about this structure? Who stopped it? Did they stop it? Did anybody remove this? So there are rules apart from the professional rules, which is the code. I mean the ethics, the code, the building codes that everybody subscribes to. There's also the law asking you to register your title with the government, take permission, get approval before you proceed. And even step-by-step approval is even necessary for a construction of that magnitude. What have we done about all of that? So there is indeed rules, but we are not just following. That's the honest truth.
For your submission, and I like the fact that you've put it out there that we shouldn't pay any lip service, because Lagos State government said it that they are investigating the unapproved, so to speak. I read it myself on socials, unapproved collapsed building. And the Deputy Director of Public Affairs, Lagos State Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development said this as well. But these are the kind of stories that we read on the dailies and on our headlines. And of course, after a few days, you realize that Nigerians forget about this, and it's as good as, everybody just moves on, because there's so much news consuming us, or so much news that we are consuming on a daily. So I must ask you, with all that you've shared thus far, and I would like you to be real. What sanctions, penalties, regulations have the government actually really put in place to end this for once and for all? I like the fact that when you were opening the show, when my first question to you, you said that this is not the first time, as of last year, 2021, we still face. So it has become a culture, it has become a pattern. So how do we end this shenanigans for negligence that is coming from all parties now, not just pointing fingers at the government, in terms of penalties?
Well, the first step is to make a scapegoat of one person. And when that person goes down, they are not going to repeat it again. What happens to the incident of 2021? Where is the white paper of the committee that was set up by the state government? Let us start from there. That is being real. That is being honest. And then professional bodies must also be ready to sanction its members who are involved, either quack or qualified personnel. You must be ready to sanction people. You see, the truth of the matter is that in Lagos, there are rules that says when a building collapses, the state government take over the site. Have we done that? We've seen building that collapse, one way or the other, it returned back to the owner. What is the basis for the release? Except if the government has stopped, doing that. So the first thing that scares people today, when you tell them that your building is distressed, it is either you bring it down yourself, or if you allow government to bring it, you pay some charges. If it come down by itself, then you are going to lose that plot. How many plots have been lost to that? You see, government, we must begin to do things differently today. If I were the man who issued a statement from the Ministry of Fiscal Planning, I'll be careful in issuing a statement as soon as that incident occurred. Why? Because the last time it occurred, there were conflicting statements about whether the building that collapsed in Ikoyi was actually approved for 18 floors or 21 floors. I remember that the General Manager of Lagos Building Control Agency was suspended before it was later recalled. That was because they issued statement that was in tandem with what the Deputy Governor said at that time. Now, today, somebody is saying that building is not approved. Of course, that is against the government. You are indirectly indicting that government. If I were him, I would just issue a statement to explain what has happened, so that we will inform the public for safety reasons and for information purposes. When emergency occurs, the first thing that is lost is information, and that is wrong. People need to get information, because it is only through information that you will be able to assist or be able to know your way. Information has even security implications. Things are happening somewhere. If you don't have an information and you run towards that place, you are likely to be caught up. So why? Why is it that when things happen, I read on the social media now that yes, journalists are not being allowed there. I can understand if that is for safety purposes. Because if I were the emergency coordinator on scene, I'm not going to allow people who are not well kitted, who are not well trained for that purpose to come in. If that is the basis, okay, that's all right. But if the basis is to hide information from the public, of course, you will drive them to go into the rumor mills and begin to pick wrong information. So, as much as possible, look, government is the father for all. They should lead. And leading is by taking action against people. Now, this has happened. Every eye should be on government. We want to see what they will do about this. If the one in 2021, and as at 2023, we are not sure of what the government has done, then this one in 2023 should not go without punishment, no matter who is involved. I mean, lives are involved in this thing. We thank God that nobody died in this matter, but are we even sure?
Exactly.
They have not finished cutting the rubbles away.
Mr. Adesina,
they have not finished getting to ground zero.
Yes, exactly my point. You know, you've shared a lot, you know, from your submission right now. First off is the fact that I feel that, you know, it's not even in the news in the first place that what's it called? The former LASEMA what's it called? I don't know what position I don't know what position he was at the time, you know, has been recalled. You know, what everybody heard was the fact that, you know, he has been asked to step down, all of that. And those are the kind of news that I feel that, you know, there must be transparency when it comes to governance and accountability in terms of how we run things and how we do things with people. However, putting that aside, you know, I mentioned earlier when I was opening the show that up until this hour, you know, journalists are not allowed to come to the premises. Yes, if I understand that they must be kitted because of safety measures and the like, but the question is, I'm sure that there are people on ground that can actually give one or two people some jackets and the likes for them to be able to have access to the facility that this incident occurred. But now I must ask you, do you think, with all that is happening right now, with all the research that shows that there is a leakage between the so-called builders in terms, for lack of a better word, I want to use the word greed, and investment in Lagos, because there is a scant report of building collapses in other states that is due to the fact that investors in real estate wants to kind of reap quick, will I say, you know, astronomical profits from prices of building sales to rent in a place like Lagos. I don't want to talk about what ladies or women face in terms of renting a place in Lagos. That's not the topic at hand. But who is checkmating all this? Is Lagos State Building Control Agency doing enough in terms of checkmating all that you have shared thus far, especially when it comes to all agencies, all individuals, all departments taking ownership?
Now, let us handle this very carefully, and I must be honest here. Now, as a civil servant, you have some rights that are abridged by the civil service rule, that civil servant cannot talk, but you could be seen. Now, some levels of civil servants who have roles to play in checking buildings and its integrity at local level, if they do their job well and they pass on that report to those who are the next level to take action, and they do not take any action, will you blame that lower level civil servant? No. And then if at that level it goes on to maybe the level of commissioner and he does not take action, do you blame the director who has forwarded his own report in good faith? Yes, people talk about money changing hands. We don't have proof of this. You can only imagine that why will, you know, people do this. But I don't want to believe that somebody who have money to buy land in Banana Island will cut corners to erect 7-story building he will not want to pay people because that is even a bad thing for his business. If we know the company that owns this property, what it means is that all of their other properties are likely to be boycotted by the people. It may be the reason why all this hiding of fact or whatever is going on. Because it only means that he has not been a good developer. So that is also important. But for me, anybody building a building of such magnitude, of course, how much are you going to gain beating, cheating yourself by buying substandard material? What is even the price differentials between the real materials and price and the fake one? We have an organization of Nigeria who should check materials and confirm their strength for whatever purpose it is meant for. Are they not understaffed? Even the staff of Lagos State government that we are talking about, the Lagos State Building Control Agency, how many of them are in position? Do they have enough staff to go around all of the magnitude of project sites that we have in Lagos? That's one. How well motivated are they? If they take money like civil servants, like an average civil servant, you're on level 10, your salary is maybe 115,000, and then you go to a site that is in billions, and then you say this thing is wrong, and they say take 500,000 and go. Where is that Nigeria? How many of us will look at that money and go away and will not take it? So corruption is, between the giver and the taker. So for anybody offering bribe, he has admitted guilt. So the only way to strike fear in the minds of that civil servant who has propensity to take money and the contractor who is using substandard material is for the government to begin to take action. It's for the professional bodies to begin to withdraw their certificate of practice. By the time you begin to do all of this, somebody will know that there is always a consequence for every action taken. But the moment you don't allow that to happen, of course, everybody is like when boys fight on the street and you take them to the police station and an uncle comes and speaks to the police and they bring him back. Of course, he comes back and says, Shoton, now I'm back at home. Then you are in trouble. He will go back and do the same thing again, knowing fully well he can buy his way off justice. No. We should, for God's sake, begin to take real action. Everybody involved in this process must begin to take action from their own point. Never mind even if the commissioner will overrule you. Never mind if the governor will overrule you. At your own desk, do the right thing. Let them even sack you for doing the right thing. There are people who are ready to take you out there. So why should we begin to hide facts? And like I said, if the reason for not allowing journalists on scene for now is safety, they are right. I have done it before. They are right. But if it is to, and I think if you are doing that, there must be a desk officer assigned to give out information from time to time so that you don't allow for rumor to take over. Because the moment rumor take over, the damage it will cause, will be more damaging than it is presently causing. Very soon you will begin to hear
you can hear me.
people's names being bandied about.
Many thanks for all your submission thus far. We'll go on a quick break and get a word from our sponsors, and the conversation continues when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back. All right, glad to know you're still with us. In case you just joined the live show, today's conversation is about the collapsed 7-story building in Banana Island. And of course, we've been talking about the rescue intervention, the role, of the government, and of course, the measures against past defaulters, and why there's still a continuous, or why it has become a culture that things like this are being repeated. We have been discussing also with an emergency consultant and former LASEMA boss, Mr. Adesina Tiamiyu. Many thanks for all your submission thus far, sir. But quickly, let me open our phone lines for those who want to be part of this conversation, who want to share their experience, or even suggest to the government, or remember, the number to call is 08009887740. It's showing on your screen right now. We're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, both on Real Talk with Kike platform and, of course, on Silverbird platform. Let me come to you. I know you have a question for us.
Mr. Adesina, in the situation of this building collapse particularly, I know that you've emphasized and stressed, of course, on taking responsibilities, making a scapegoat, no matter who is involved. No matter who is involved now got me talking about now the class in Lagos or the class in Nigeria. Nigeria is a peculiar country that we usually witness when the elites or when the big wigs or when the rich men, for lack of a better word, commit an offense or commit an offense, so to speak. And we actually do not really see them being brought to justice as against when a commoner perpetrates such acts. In this case of this collapsed building, of course, from alleged information that one of the...
From the grapevine.
Well, of course, from one of the... From the
grapevine.
From the grapevine. One of... Allegedly that one of the Nigerian billionaire household owns that particular building. And since yesterday when I saw the particular news, I'll be withholding the name because it's not out there publicly yet. And if we are saying a billionaire family owns that piece of land, of course, there is a name to the CFO allocated. So we can actually say if the person had sold it or the person is keeping it for his own purpose. And in this case that a billionaire family has been mentioned, do you think that no matter who is involved, justice will be played?
Well, it's about willpower. In this country before, former head of state have been jailed. General Olusegun Obasanjo, when he was in the army, was arrested for coup and was jailed. He's a big Nigerian. General Oladipo Deya, of blessed memory, may his soul rest in peace, was accused of coup plotting. He was the second in command to that same government. He was arrested and jailed before he was pardoned. So it is about willpower to do the right thing. I mean, what are we talking about? Big men. Who is big before God? I understand that in our climb, we kowtow to big men. I have been forced to take action against my will before. Yes, I understand it. But then there should be a way forward. We cannot continue to be held down. What is their population? I mean, how can you have money and your money is problem to the people? Even though I don't know who is being bandied about, I don't know the truth about that, but nobody can be bigger than Nigeria. This is what, government promise every year. I need them to put, a need, a stamp on that to show that nobody can hide. Nobody can hide under being big, being a money bag, and continue to flout laws. Yes, I know, every day on TV, you see policemen parade criminals who fight themselves, cultists, gang boys, and all of that. Meanwhile, people who kill on the street, known, vagabonds in our society are seen and protected. Funny enough, some of them have policemen. Come on, we have to be serious. We have to be serious. It's unfortunate, but the truth has to be told. We cannot all be docile in the face of all of these challenging, terrible situation we have around us. Is it until a governor go visiting a project site under construction, maybe owned by his government, and that building collapse on all of them? Is it until that happens that we begin to take action? Or a very big man, for that matter?
All right.
It's so displeasing.
All right.
But we have to do something about it.
All right. Many thanks for your submission thus far, and I like that you've kept it real. But I have two questions for you because I know that we are running out of time quickly. And you've said it in your last submission that money is problem to the people. In advanced countries like China, like Japan, they have this ideology and culture of correction, that whoever misuses or abuses public offices would be given death sentences after being found guilty. It pays them to try to get rid of one virus to save millions of lives and end the culture of repeated disaster. And I'm wondering, why is it that we haven't adopted this approach as against counting hundreds of lives, that have been lost every 6 months or every 1 year? That is my first question to you, and I want you to note it, sir. And my second question to you, because of time, is the fact that I feel that let's access this disaster and this emergency management system in our country. First off, from the grapevine again, I learned that, even people who went there, despite the fact that we're not allowed to go in, when this situation happened, they actually gave people food and water and the likes and all of that. It's like there's a calmness in them. I really don't want to, touchlight or gaslight anybody right now, but I'm certain that these rescue missions, will take days, and we'll start counting those who survived or those who didn't in terms of mitigation and risk assessment, which is key. And I like the fact that your consulting firm is also into emergency what's it called now, assessment and the likes and all of that. So as the former boss of LASEMA, I would like you to touch on the upscaling, as in that we have for us to achieve all this rescue management in terms of human and mechanical resources. Are you there? All right. Before they launch him or establish connection with him, it's unfortunate, Damilola, with all. Okay, we have a caller right now, and I think it's important for us to pick some calls.
Get Nigerians.
Hello, are you there? All right. While we are still trying to reestablish connection, see, with all that is happening right now, I like the fact that he mentioned earlier that any balomo, and I tell people, for all my Yoruba non-followers or listeners or who are watching.
May God do not let us walk when the street is hungry.
When evil is
looming,
is going on, is taking place, and exactly that is how Nigeria is at the moment. However we want to look at, you see quite a number of technocrats that will say that they want to come back home, but because there's no structure in place. Sir, are you there? Can you hear me now?
Hello, sir.
Are you there? All right, still trying to adjust his camera. I don't know if he can hear me. We are running out of time. Are you there, sir?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right, did you hear my questions?
Yes, I do. The first part of your question talked about how can we do the way they do in China, where we can,
Japan and the likes,
and do this and all of that. The honest truth is that it will be difficult.
Why is
it? If you want to acquire power in Nigeria today, you need a lot of money. That money is likely not to be your money alone. Who are those people who fund elections? Imagine those who fund your election are involved in things. Is it possible to look him in the face and take him in? That's number one. Now, the second part of the question is the issue of emergency responders. Look, with due respect, I'm not going to blame emergency responders for this, especially Lagos State Emergency Management Agency or even National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA and LASEMA. Look, they pick up a call that there's a building collapse and they have gone there. And nobody has said they delayed in getting there. To the best of my knowledge, they have done their own bit. Now, they also have responsibility to protect other property owners around that same structure. Mind you, there are 3 other structures standing. You cannot allow mass of people to crowd into that space. Just imagine the second structure comes down when people are all over the place. We will go back to these emergency workers to say that is the wrong practice. So, to the extent that it is to protect lives and property and to avoid what we call secondary incident. Because when an incident, if you remember the bomb blast in Abuja for many years ago, the first bomb went off, people ran out to come and have a look. And then the second one went off, and that one took many people along. So there's always that secondary incident, which are always more devastating. So to avoid that, they are well trained to handle this. It is the boys who have been there for some time now that are still there. And the man leading them is also an experienced person. So I expect them to know the reason why journalists were for now bad. But I will only advise And they should go ahead and give out periodic information, because the public need to know what is going on there. It is unusual. Before, we will have camera feeds. I have scanned through all TV stations. I've not seen one giving live report on scene. So I think whatever is the safety concern should have been addressed between yesterday and this afternoon. So by today, they should allow journalists come around, see what is happening, ask people questions, talk to Nigerians, talk to Lagosians, so that you keep our mind at rest, especially those who have properties around that neighborhood. Somebody's house is just below those properties. If you look at the video, what if it has tilted to the back? It's going to fall on another person's property. And who knows what effort those ones have made. I remember somebody fighting another man, erecting a 4-story building near his house when he has a bungalow. He fought that man until he came to the public. It has happened before. Because you must understand whether you said we should build 3-story building maximum here. Why are you going to the 4th? And the man was bold enough, went to the government, came to TV. And of course, when the government saw that, they took action. So we must all be involved.
Unfortunately, Mr. Adesina, many thanks for all your submission thus far. It's been very, enlightening and educative for us to hear from you. But, this is where we draw the curtains of the show. But before I let you go, there's the last segment of the show that we call Trending Stories. These are stories that bind us as Nigerians, And one of the trending stories that caught my attention is the fact that the Nigerian Medical Association, the NMA, opposes 5 years compulsory practice, says that that is not the solution. But before I come to you, sir, let me come to Damilola. Damilola, I know this is something you are passionate about, apart from population when it comes to Nigeria. What's your take on this?
Well, I think that if the law can come to stay, agreed. But the moment you are saying that doctors should spend 5 years before going out of the country, or you want to pass that bill, ESMA, dear politicians, Nigerian people, be ready to receive treatment in your local health center. The meaning is that you people too will not be granted access to travel out to meet the Nigerian doctors who have left here looking for greener pasture. So if you want to keep them here because they are competent enough, because they can do the job, and because you want them to do the job, you should also make availability of yourself to be treated at your various local government health centers, primary health centers. Let's leave it at that, or let's start from there. The Nigerian medical system, I think, will be better.
All right, many thanks for your submission. I just think that I would like to ask, is the bill by the Senate in the interest of the medical doctors? The answer is no. Or will I say, in the interest of the public people or public interest? The answer is no. The NMA are right to, counter arguments. It is not about a 5-year compulsory practice, if you ask me. But the enabling and conducive environment for practice is not there in Nigeria. There's no even ease of doing business as an entrepreneur, not to talk of you that went to school, that went to practice. However, we need to start addressing the problems from the root cause rather than rigmaroling around solutions. Yes, from a balanced perspective now, I feel that the Senate, has to see the need to retain doctors and healthcare workers to train in our system. But yes, Nigerians need the healthcare workers. They need the nurses. They need the doctors to attend to patients, in getting wider when it comes to all that is happening around us. But however, we need to also address the working condition and the welfare of those people. These are, if you ask me, compulsory things that I feel that is causing all the complaints that I've been hearing about in terms of remuneration, in terms of unpaid arrears, in terms of poor medical infrastructure and facilities. Sometimes a lot of our doctors went to school to practice all that they've learned, but when they come, the reality of the facility and the equipment is what actually pushed them into the thing to say that, okay, I think we need to get out, or japa, for lack of a better word, out of the country. But how do they want them to function is the reason why I'm putting all of this out there. The doctors and the nurses and other healthcare workers, should be praised and appreciated more. And I think that if all of this can be done, I think there would be a change. But they were you know, I just see they were frontline survivors given by God to rescue us, and we saw that during the COVID pandemic, how all of that happened. I want to say kudos to the medical doctor because of this, and of course the media practitioners as well that brought the information to the fingertips of quite a number of people. Now, the Senate want to just pass some bill to restrain them without thinking of dialogue.
Adequate.
I just feel that our leaders, until they understand that you need to dialogue, try to bring everybody from different angles and different perspectives to look for how to find solution, is when it will be a step to some of the problems that we are, or some of the problems that we are facing. I don't want
or
to
probably a step to progress.
maybe challenges, but our politicians, like Damilola also mentioned when she was giving her submission, is the fact that they travel abroad. They travel out on medical tourism.
On headache.
And you know, they spend our money. Yes, that's it. They spend our money. They you know, they see the infrastructure abroad with the environment of practice. They feel at home. Top doctors are Nigerians abroad, and the Indians as well. They treat them like kings and queens. Everyone wants to be appreciated and commended. You know, this thing hurts me because I think that I would like to further give an example. You know, I don't want to mention it, but I give you an instance. A family member of mine, let me put it out there. Actually, my son was operated on here in Nigeria in a private hospital by expatriate doctors. They recruited them from abroad. I'm sure that they were given housing, different facilities, and some salaries, name it. Why can't we treat and benefit our own doctors is what I'm asking in pain. You know, it's just unfortunate. Abroad, they give them residency. What is attached to the profession of doctors and soldiers or veterans like us? Yeah, I'm just saying. Other than the passport that they will all suffer at the immigration office to procure.
Suffer or humiliated.
Or humiliate. You know, it's nobody's wish. I must put it out there. It's nobody's wish to leave his or her own father's land. If everything was okay, if there's good infrastructural facilities, I'm sure quite a number of people will want to stay back. Guys, I have options, but I still believe in Nigeria. I still have faith. I still say that, you know, I want to stay back. So the policy makers, I'm coming to you, sir, and Maz, but more of SARS, the policy makers and the government, I feel they can do better. They can be more committed to the plight of our healthcare workers. When they start doing that, and they stay back in this country, when it comes to health, instead of them traveling abroad for medical tourism, I think that is when change will come. Instead of just passing unnecessary bill when it's convenient and comfortable for us. Are we looking at the practicality of the condition that they are being subjected to? The answer is no. Sir, let me come to you before I get very emotional and I start receiving phone calls. Are you there?
Anyway, yes, I'm here.
Okay, sir. What's your take on
Yes, my views on this, my views tallies with yours. I don't think that's the way to go. The first thing we should look at is, why are these doctors traveling out so soon after graduation? They talk about bad medical facilities, lack of equipment to train with, bad, I mean, remuneration not attractive, commensurate to the years they spent in school. Why are we not attacking this first? The doctors, many of them go to meet abroad, are blacks, some of them Nigerians. So why should, is that even the most important thing in Nigeria today when it comes to healthcare? No. Why is it that people in government, some of them who are medical doctors, who have opportunity to influence things, set up hospitals that are very, very good? You remember the vice president did a surgery in an hospital in Ikeja here. It's by a Nigerian, yes, with partners from abroad. It means that we can do it. It means the equipment are readily available. If personal people can buy, individuals can buy for their hospital, it means government can buy many more. Why don't we start from there? What does it cost to import some of these, equipment that we go ahead and use when we go there? Somebody has gone through about 7 years of medical education. you also want to keep him for another 5 years. What will happen is that people will go for other courses that is not missing. Or they save money and people travel abroad. If I train abroad, pay my money abroad, you can force me back. So for everything that we do that is anti-people, there is always a way to go about it. Yeah, we find a way to beat it. After all, as compulsory as it is to serve your fatherland, if you choose not to, the only thing you lose is that you cannot be appointed into public position. So if you're an entrepreneur who wants to do business, you can, as well say, why do I have to serve? Or you are a big man who has a big investment that your son is being trained to take over from, and you say you should go and serve and posted to Samvara, and you are a Lagosian. Of course, you will tell him, no, go, come and stay here. Nothing happens. No penalty. Beyond the fact that if you choose to be in politics next time, you cannot be elected because of that. That's just it. So they should not drive Nigeria into taking, bad route to get out of Nigeria. They should help them, rather.
All right, many thanks for your submission and, of course, for keeping it real. I must say that it's been an interesting episode on Real Talk with Kike. Courtesy you, our resourceful guest, and, of course, for always honoring my invite, Mr. Adesina Tiamiyu. Many thanks again for all that you've shared. I can only wish you the very best as you forge ahead in your consulting firm. I think on this note, this is where we draw the curtains of the show. Till we come your way next week, remember to stay safe because Nigeria, you have to borrow yourself. My name is Kike of Atanda-Owo. You are?
Madam Lola Banire, the patriotic citizen of Nigeria.
All right, bye now.
Bye.